I'm looking at the table of content of this book, and I will tell. It's obviously the first thing this guy does is to talk about the paradigms and principles. What is a paradigm? Paradigm is something that you have in yourself that is there. You don't quite know that you have a paradigm, but you have. All of us have paradigms, and it is through those paradigms that we see the planet, that we see other people, that we see situations. And this book here, this man says that in each of the 7 habits, there are paradigms. The paradigm 1 for the habit 1, 2, 3, etc. until 7. Yeah. And then what is this thing of when there is a paradigm shift, you see things in a different way, because it's like I don't know whether he is the one who put the example of, if you put a pair of glasses, which is say blue, you put it in front of your eyes, and everything you look is blue. Is the world blue? No. But it is the specs you have that is making you to see the world blue. If you change it to a pink one, then the world is pink. You think the world is pink. And you could die for that, you see. So this book begins by telling us about this, that you have to be aware that what you see in this world is not exactly the very world. It is you and who you are that puts those paradigms in front of your eyes and ears, and then you hear, you see, you smell. No, smell probably not. I think it's too simple a sense, but at least listening and seeing is different. It depends on you. Yeah. So the book begins by talking about this. The part 1 is called Paradigms and Principles. Yeah. So you have, if you become better, you see the world better. If you become worse, then you see the world in a wrong manner. Yeah. So this is the thing. He says that you have this paradigm. It is inside of yourself. You have to move it. You have to find out whether it's a negative paradigm that, for instance, you see people who are complaining always. They always complain. So that individual is somehow dysfunctional, because he or she is always complaining. And that complaint is something that is there as a frame, as a paradigm that is making the person to see the world in a manner which is kind of dysfunctional, and then warrants him or her the right, inverted commas, to complain. Yeah. So if you leave the door open, the person complains. If you close, he or she complains. If you go out, they complain. If you don't go out, they complain. So it is a mess. Why? Because then somebody is dealing with a negative paradigm, and he or she is not aware of that. And so he says, and there is an example there in the book at the beginning, if you remember, when this gentleman is coming with the noisy kids in the subway, and the man is there totally absent of the reality that these kids are disturbing everybody in that subway. And eventually somebody gathers the courage, goes, talks to him, says, "Sir, don't you see that your children are disturbing people?" The guy says, "Yes, probably, but you see, don't know really what to do, because we are just coming from the hospital. Their mother has died. And yeah, so really, yeah. So of course, that man who was annoyed with this irresponsible parent now changed completely, because now he becomes compassionate, because he knows reality has changed. What he was seeing was not the reality, was some perception he had. So it's an interesting thing. So throughout the book, keep in mind the concept of paradigm shift, that you have to change in order to change the world. And that is what he calls inside out. Any substantial change in yourself, in your circumstance, in the world around you, depends on you. It begins inside, it begins within. And then that is where he goes about the so-called the private victory, which is the second part of this book, where he, from the paradigms and principles in Inside Out, he now goes into the three habits, which are you. It is yourself. That is the nobody else. You don't need a colleague, a friend, a mother, a sister, a boyfriend, girlfriend, a husband or wife to excel in these three first habits. No, it is you, the individual, yourself. Look at a mirror, check your ID. That's the guy, that's the girl, yeah, that needs to go through this so-called private victory. He says that at the beginning of this, inverted commas, school, we would go first like we are beginning from a position of dependency, meaning that we depend on other people for many things. And then if I want to give an example of dependency, I think he also used in the book, is a child. A child, say a 2 years old toddler, he or she can do very little by himself or herself. Bathing, no. Keeping the room tidy, no. Feeding himself, herself, no. Dressing, no. Tying the shoelace, no. You know, that baby depends entirely from the mother, from the dad, from the elder brothers and sisters. Is in a stage of dependency. Now, Covey says that if you don't get into this school of the private victor, you will be eternally dependent. Okay, of course, you are not going to ask your mother to tie your shoelace today because you are 35, but you will be still blaming people for your miseries. You will still be complaining. You will still be a disorderly person. You still not knowing exactly what you are doing in this planet. You will not, you know, a number of things that really make you dependent. And then when a baby is allowed to be dependent, okay, of the mom. That's why the mom and dad get married and they stick together and to provide an environment for these dependent people who keep coming. Yeah, baby 1, baby 2, baby 3, baby whatever, chapter 2, whatever. So, but when you grow old and you don't improve in those three habits, the be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first, then you become a dysfunctional person. You are childish, you are not mature, you cause havoc, you make people around yourself confused and disgruntled and stuff. That's it. So this is, unless you brace yourself and start your internal journey, going from dependent to independent, you are not a functional person. You are a dysfunctional person. And wherever you go, you carry yourself with yourself. Therefore, you'll have problem in the school, you have problem in the university, you have problem in your workplace, you have problem in your family, because it is you. Yeah, something is wrong in there, and that's why it becomes complicated for you to be independent. Yeah, so now, once you suppose you successfully go through the habit 1, 2, and 3, and you do what I mentioned at the beginning. You learn, you incorporate, you put it into practice, and you go around teaching other people. Then a lot of good things happen and you become independent. You become like a mothers normally they have fought the private victories, so they have no personal problems. They go around solving the problem of all their children and the eldest child, which is the husband or so a mother is always there. Where is my whatever, that drawer, go pick there. Don't forget to take this thing, your umbrella, it is raining. Oh, tomorrow, I have that exam. I put the thing there for you. Oh, here is money, pay for the registration of the car. Stuff like that. So they are independent. You wake up, the breakfast is prepared already. They don't need anybody to remind them from things, but they remind you of things. So a mother is an interesting paradigm of somebody who has gone through the private victory and it is able now to exercise real leadership in the family. So now, once you won this private victory, you now go into the so-called public victory. Because the end game is not to be independent. In a country, as in a person, when you become independent, like I know Kenya is a special nation. You have 2 dates for independence, isn't it? I think one is in July, another is in December. But yes, we are entitled to celebration because we told the British, said, no, go away. We know how to handle ourselves. We shall take care of ourselves. We are going to govern ourselves. We are going to look for the common good of ourselves. We don't need you guys. Now, you don't need to be on top of us, so we may work together, yes, but etc. So you understand. Now, once you do that, you are independent. You have still a journey to go from independency to interdependency. That is a shifting of paradigm again. You have to know that you cannot be successful in life if you are just independent, because matters of legacy, matters of transforming the world and transforming yourself in the process happens when you work with other people. So the public victory comes here. You have think win-win, that's habit number 4. Then you have it, and there is a lot of things there, normally we are wired not to think about other people. We are wired to think about ourselves. And yet we have to make that effort to live empathy, to go and put yourselves into the shoes of the other person. Yeah. And then from there begin the conversation. And it cannot be lose-lose. It cannot be win-lose. We cannot be lose-win. It has to be win-win. Or you can agree to disagree and walk away from the thing, keeping the relationship, and you don't do that thing because you couldn't find a win-win for whichever reason. Then the second of the public victories is the seek first to understand, then be understood. And this is also a paradigm shift. We are hardwired to want people to understand us first. And it is an incredible obstacle for interdependency, for working together. So, and then number 6 is another, it's called Synergize. Now, Synergize means go find somebody who is different from you, appreciate that difference, and then see how you and that individual together can do something that neither of you alone would be able to do. So this is synergy. And in synergy, 1 + 1 can be 3, can be 10, can be 200, can be 1,000,000, I don't know. You see, one thing that I like mentioning, I think he also mentions in the book, is what is synergize? What is synergy? Is to appreciate that people are different and to value the difference. You see, it's like in a symphony. There is nothing more different than a drum and a violin. And if it would be very childish to say, ah, a violin, you are better than the drum. No, no, there is no such thing. They are different. One is a drum, another is a violin, and there is the clarinet, and there is the oboe, and there is the flute, and there is the piano. Which is better? Wait a moment, don't be silly. They are different. Now, when you put them together in an orchestra and you have a good maestro, you come up with a symphony. Somebody like Mozart or Bach or one of this, Schubert, they compose things for, I don't know, 20 different instruments, and it becomes a marvelous thing. You can even cry when you listen to a symphony. Why? Because you accepted the difference and you put them in harmony, and you are getting something which otherwise, with the same instrument, you would not succeed. Pick the most sophisticated one, for instance, I don't know, piano, for instance. Yeah, put it there and say it's a symphony with piano. Piano and what? You can't get it. So, and finally, in fact, the public victory ends here with the Synergize. You know how to deal with individuals, you know how to deal with a bunch of people in a concerted effort for something. And then the 7 habits it tells a story of ourselves, which is that we need to keep growing, that we need to commit ourselves to lifelong learning, that we should never say, I know enough, or that, then you would become very stupid, actually, arrogant and stuff. So the 7th habit is principle of balanced self-renewal. How do you sharpen the saw? How, after cutting 50 trees, you acknowledge that you have to sit on the grass, relax, while somebody sharpen that instrument for you, an axe, and make you able to continue working in your cutting tree business with a much faster output, because your axe is sharper, rather than a blunt one that says, no, I don't have time for you to sharpen my saw. I have to cut these trees. Looks silly. So this is the end. I took a bit more than the time I thought I was going to take. Yes, but yeah, I think we are still in a manageable situation in this meeting of ours here. So I stop here, and then I think Christine was to organize for us questions with the chats and also with the normal asking. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that great introduction. It's very insightful. It's sort of like, I don't know, a 10-15 minute summary of the entire book. And now we move to the next session, where we will open the book club to a conversation, and possibly I would encourage people to, as the speaker talks, or as different people put out different views, you could also put your insights on the chat box. And also, as my colleague Eric said, you could raise your hand if you would like to say something. So seeing that Prof has sort of summarized this book for us, I would like maybe to start by inviting maybe one or two people to share their experience about reading this book. What your impression of the book was. Yeah, possibly we could start from there. So if there is anyone who would like to say something at this point, and also maybe just to comment on what Professor Izael has talked about. I can see in the chat box, Mr. Nyongesa says, the one who seeks to understand and then be understood remains a continuous struggle. I wish there was an easier way to approach this, especially when you're dealing with difficult people. Well, that's very interesting. And I totally agree, yes.
Yes, well, for Bildad, I think one thing that happens is we have that conviction that we are right, and that people are wrong. So it's very difficult to listen when you know that you are right, you see. And the paradigm is actually to say, no, let me just listen. Though sometimes, like for instance, there are things in which I am convinced I have the truth. Like for instance, if I'm pro-life and a person who is pro-abortion comes to talk to me, I will definitely make an effort to see his or her point, but I will tell him or her from the start that it is impossible to change my mind, in that one. But we have to listen, and people have to understand that they are being listened, and it's a kind of respect that you have to have for other people. I say a joke, then I tell you something a bit more serious. There is this girl, she's walking with her colleague, and then at a certain moment, she stops, like someone who has just had an insight, a brilliant insight. And then she says to her colleague, you know what? I just came to realize that I don't know anybody apart from me who is always right. You see, it's amazing, no? So she says, yeah, apart from me, I'm always right. So there are things that we develop ways of not listening. Suppose, like for instance, a mother picks her daughter from the kindergarten, and then the daughter is telling her, the mom, what thinks about the day there in the kindergarten. Says, hi, mommy, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens? The mother pretends she is listening. Says, oh, okay, nice, very good. But she's thinking about other things. Of course, she doesn't expect any deep knowledge from that kagel. So she is just pretending she's listening. Fine. Good for you. But she doesn't. So we do it sometimes with adults, and it is very bad. It is really, really bad. We have the listening is a technique that very few people study it. Of course, we study speaking. Speaking in public, you go to classes, you join the Toastmaster club because you want to speak better. But listen better. I haven't had any course on how to listen. Yeah, and yet we have 2 ears and one mouth. That should say us something about the idea of listening and talking. Yeah. So the mother with the kid, that's the thing. Then there is another way of listening, which is not, it is more or less when I know I am right and you are wrong. So you are talking and I'm quiet. In principle, I'm listening, but I'm not listening. Inside of myself, I'm trying to use your words, capture things that you are saying in order to defend my position already. So you are saying things, I'm taking note, as if I were a judge, you see, or a lawyer against another lawyer. So I take things, once you finish, I now say, aha, thank you very much for that. I want to tell you, and then were you listening? You were not. You were taking notes because you want to smash that guy. You have no interest in getting anything called the light or clarifications or truth from that individual. It's another thing of people think you are listening, you are not listening. The third way of listening, more or less, is when you want to listen, but because you have the need of some information. Like, for instance, you stop, say, sir, where is Nakumat? And then the guy will tell you, well, Nakumat's no longer there. Where is Carrefour? And then people, you couldn't care less for that individual who is giving you that thing. It could as well be your Google map. You don't care. Just tell me, I understand, thank you, and I go. That is a communication, speaking and listening, but there is no big interaction. Then there is the other one, but you listen because that you need, like a lecturer is talking something, you don't like the lecture, but you are taking note because he's going to ask it in the exam. Yeah. But then the real listening is when you put yourself before someone and you are open and let that person talk. And you are taking things without any bias, and you are looking at him or her with the desire to help, the desire that that person finds the truth, goes away from error, understands something, and then you open yourself that you may change with what this person is going to say. So that becomes a seeking to understand before being understood. And then there is body language also. If the person is speaking in a hard and he's breathing hard, it is not working. You have to tell him or her, look, relax. Let's, and say something like appreciation and stuff, so that you take the person from that position where he or she doesn't seem to be going to profit from this interaction until he or she is relaxed, is nice, and then we talk, yeah. And then that habit will happen. Okay, stop there.
Okay, thank you. Eric, would you like to say something about your impressions about the book?
Yes, first maybe just something that Prof finished on there about truly listening to people, looking at them. I wonder, sometimes when you try to truly listen to someone, emotions play a role. How do we manage our emotions as we listen to people? As we were speaking about the comment of Bildad, this is somebody you're finding difficult. So already you've judged the person. Your emotions towards him or her are different. So how do we truly listen to someone and still take care of our emotions so that that conversation goes well, that you're able to understand the person? I don't know what you have to say about emotions, Prof, about that, because I find it sometimes, for me, it's difficult to put away my emotions when I talk to people who I find difficult, and I try to understand.
Okay, I have to say two things. The first thing is the following: we must admit that we are not perfect, even in the issue of understanding people. And there are people whose chemistry works with you. You see, it's very difficult to explain, but there are people who, when I meet them, I feel energized, I feel excited, I feel like kind of naturally, I kind of bring out the best of myself. And there is the opposite. There are individuals, I have no moral think about it, etc. But there are individuals who deflate me, who just makes me feel miserable. And I have to disclose to you that at work, sometimes I have seen myself running away. I see that individual coming, and then I turn around, really, I turn around, I go to another place, I stay there for 1 minute or so, then I come back when the individual has passed already. Yeah, so when, because I really feel deflated, I feel victimized, I feel negativity is there. So there are people who are like that, and then most often than not, it's not you the problem. It's that that individual has a lot to do with that thing, because like he or she likes the blame game, or are not reasonable and things like that. But then the second point I want to make is that this is related to habit number 1. Be proactive. It is there in your internal journey that you learn how to handle these conflicts that come to us and makes our blood boil, our heart beat to go faster. It's like when you are going. I used to live in Kpmg Road, and then I would leave this place here via Mbagathi Way in a hurry because I wanted to get there, dodge the traffic, etc. Now, as I am pushing and going fast, and then I under that way bridge in Riara University, a matatu just comes out, no sign, no nothing. So I have to go to the brake. And then I stop, say 1 centimeter from hitting that this crazy guy. So now, of course, my heart, my emotions, they are totally in disarray. I feel like abusing him. I lower my window. I feel like telling him very many interesting things, okay? Now, what I have to do is I have to control myself. And this is the first habit, to be proactive. You have to be, as Covey says, response able. You have to give a good response to that bad situation. That guy messed you and you almost crashed your car. But guess what? You have to be understanding. Says, oh my God, poor guy, he's in Mira and Fanta since 6 in the morning, you see? Oh, this man has never gone to school, yet I have a PhD, you know? And so you work on yourself, you don't have a direct control over your emotions, but you have a direct control over your intelligence and your will and your values. So you eventually end up understanding that guy, that perhaps if I had the same situation, he doesn't know who his father is, or has trouble at home, doesn't have a house or whatever. And you know, so you end up now praying for that individual. And then you eventually can control your blood pressure and your heartbeat in a political way, but you can, provide you do what is there in the be proactive principles of personal vision, that there are things you don't do. If somebody is cruel to Eric, is Eric going to be cruel to him or her? No, you don't do that. It is evil. If somebody is false with you, is somebody who really is this, how they say is when you deceive, is a deceitful person. Are you going to be deceitful to that person? You cannot. You are committed to the truth. You know, if somebody, so on and so forth, dishonest, you can't be dishonest. Somebody steals something from you, you can't steal something from people. You are not a thief, for heaven's sake. So that principle is a prerequisite for the listening and for the win-win. You have to have as prerequisite the ability to be response-able. You are not like an animal, which is action-reaction. Eric, you are stupid. No, Da Silva, you are stupid. Boom, boom, boom. This is for horses and the dogs, you know, but not for human beings. So I think the answer is in the habit one.
Right. My impressions of the book, I think there are two main things that for me were very useful and really helped me. The first one is on that first part of the paradigm shift, where it talks about a new way of looking at the world, and of course it begins with us. And we have to change the way we look at things, beginning with us. And so that idea of private victory, how do you get into those three habits? For me, that was very impressive. Of course, then you also need to look at character. How do you build character in order to acquire this private victory, in order to have this paradigm shift? For me, that part of the book was very important, was very fundamental. That little by little it's been helping me to try and change the way I look at problems on that. So that for me was one of the impressive parts of the book that I've been trying to put in practice. And the second thing is to talk about the second habit, which is having the end in mind. Right. That I think beginning with the end in mind is something that we've been trying to put it to practice, looking at it, setting strategies, goals in order to achieve our plans. But then we get stuck in the things that happen every day. Covey writes there, it's incredibly easy to get caught up in an activity trap. In the business of life, work harder and harder at climbing the ladder of success, only to discover that it's leaning against the wrong wall. And looking at what is happening today with the many distractions, technology is supposed to be an enabler for us to work towards the end. But often technology sometimes becomes a disruptor. We get distracted in it. So that second habit is, for me, still a struggle, little by little, trying to win over it. But I think it's important, and we have to form ourselves on always thinking with the end in mind, having a long-term vision, which is important. But then we get distracted. And of course, sometimes also at our work, we have disruptions that come from the people we work with. Then how do we make sure that we still have the end in mind as we go about our daily activities? And as we get into positions of leadership, how do we also help others to have the end in mind as they go about their daily activities? I think for me, those are some of the most impressive parts of the book that I have been trying to put into practice in these days.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. I would like to, okay, before I invite someone else to give their impressions, is possibly to, from the conversation, how it's going, one of the things that actually I'm finding a bit of a contradiction between when you're talking about when you're in traffic and the matatu drivers does something really, really difficult. So when I think about the principle of being proactive and the idea of win-win, having a win-win mindset, sometimes I think, at least on my part, especially when you think about big things that you would like to do to change the world or to make the world a better place, maybe something as small as littering, or could be something like voting. Sometimes I would want to be proactive, but at the same time, when I think about win-win, sometimes there's the frustration that may come that I think like this, but not everyone thinks like this. Therefore, whatever I am doing is like a drop in the ocean. I don't know, Prof, what can you say? Because sometimes you really want to do something that can make an impact. It could be a vote, it could be not littering, it could be actually obeying traffic rules, but you think the next person is not doing it. Therefore, my contribution really does not matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is a good question, because one of the things that happens when we are yet failing a bit on the being proactive is that when somebody does something wrong to us, perhaps despises us, humiliates us, make us uncomfortable, misunderstand us, we instantly, in the side of emotions, like Eric was mentioning, it comes like almost an authorization for you to misbehave. Like I pay with the same coin. Even there are people who have it as the motto of their life. They say, I dance actually in accordance with your music. So if you want me to be nice, be nice. If you are not nice, I will not be nice. And this is a very wrong paradigm, because this you are giving actually the control of your life to somebody else outside of yourself. It's like you are giving the remote control of your life to your husband or boyfriend, to your lecturer, to your colleague at work, or to this guy who has just overtaken you in the traffic and said some very bad things to you. So the paradigm shift in here is do no evil. do no evil. That is basic. Then on top of that is you will build what you are saying, that even if everybody else in the planet, 7 billion people minus one, are going to go wrong, I cannot go wrong. So I will still avoid littering. I will still perhaps stop the car and pick that stuffy plastic that the guy in front sent through to the road. I will stay in queue despite of all those good friends of mine who just disbandled the queue and they are assaulting the man there at the cashier. You know, because you have values, because you are in control. You see, you are driving a car, you are in the driving seat, you have at your reach the brake to stop, the accelerate to put good speed, the gears to make it smooth and you go up to 100 kilometers per hour. You have the steering wheel that you can turn to the left, to the right, or go straight. And this is conquer, this is conquest, this is something that you have reached, that is yours for keeps. You are rich, you are marvelous, you are incredible, you see. And the more people don't do what you suggest, or it seems you are not getting many followers, no problem. There is no, it makes your positive action even more like heroic, you know. So that is the thing. And then I love this signature that you, Christine, have in your email. You remember that you say, help one person at a time, isn't it? Yeah, don't think about time, you just think about person, and help as much as you can one person, beginning by the nearest one, you know? And that's it. If you die while you are helping the first person, it is great. If God allows you to stay up to 1,731 people that you help, it is also great. But it is not upon you. That one you have no control over. But as long as you exist and you breathe and you have health and you move, you do no evil and you want to do good. And of course, it's not easy because we have those emotions, we have, there is, the beast is inside, you know, but we try not to. So this is what actually few people understand in this planet. And then they are reactive. They say, no, I will never get a PhD because nobody in my family has a PhD. Well, perhaps you say, I am getting a PhD because I want to be the first person in my family to have a PhD. That's it. I mean, we finish. So, you know, the gentleman says, I offer him some glass of wine and says, Prof, I am sorry, I cannot take it because, you know, my dad was an alcoholic and he died actually of liver failure. Huh? But then the other guy, I say, why? They say, oh yes, you know, in fact, my father was a drunkard. That's why I also love the bottle. Now, the reality is the same, but one is using it to do good. The other is using it to justify his or her weakness, you know.
Before I call the next person, maybe just to take us back, Saulo mentioned about something that I think, Prof, I would like you to expound on. He says one of the things that impressed him was the concept of beginning with the end in mind. I think I am guilty also of being one of those people who sometimes you do many things, but it's only after maybe something has failed or has succeeded that you ask yourself, why was I doing this in the first place? So
true. Yeah, no, this is really an interesting thing. And I would like to begin from a metaphysical viewpoint, is the following. There is nothing, I don't know where you are, but you look around, you have a door, you have a window, you have a set of pen, you have your mobile phone, you have clothes on you. All those things, they have begun by being an idea in the mind of someone. Yeah, I am wearing a suit I bought. I like it very much, so I use it when it's a feast day. Now, this suit only came to be with me because somebody have designed, someone has actually designed this suit sometime back. I don't know whether it was in China or in New York or in Milano, in Italy. But they designed it. Then once they had the clear idea of, this suit is going to be excellent in someone, which I don't know who he is. Now, after that, this person goes for a proper fabric, gets the fabric, then goes to somebody who can do nice stitching and make that suit, and then finishes it, makes a number of them, and then sends to the shops, and then people buy, they use, they enjoy it. Where did all begin? It began with the concept. Even us, each human being, we were a concept in the mind of God. There is a fantastic spiritual writer called Leo Treze, and the one who wrote The Faith Explained, More Than Many Sparrows, and Vessel of Clay. He's an unbelievable American guy, has died already, but he's a brilliant guy. He actually, he says, look, you put whatever you want there as an end, like God did with you. He was flipping some kind of a book with the possible human beings. And then he opened a page and he found you there. And then he said, this world is going to be so much better if I make somebody like Joseph Lubega, you know? And then he makes Joseph Lubega and he puts him there in Kampala to make people happy, you see? So even God begins with the end in mind. So it is interesting that you have to see, what do you want? And then you design it. And you think of it as an end. And the more complex, the more articulated, the more sophisticated is your view of your end, the nearer you are from getting it to turn a reality. Suppose you don't yet have a PhD and you say, I want to have a PhD. That's your end. Good, well done. You have an end in mind. Now, PhD on what? Biology or architecture? Or literature, or metaphysics, or engineering. You know, you can't do all of them at the same time. You will choose the area that you did, probably based on your undergrad, probably based on your master's, but you have to follow. And then that is the thing. You have the end in mind clearly. I already have my PhD. I already prepared my thesis with innovation and is original. And then I already have 3 papers that I publish in very good peer-reviewed journals of high impact. And I already did the subjects. I already paid my fees, or I got somebody, perhaps the Norwegian embassy, to pay me for my PhD because I'm a woman. You know, they support women, and etc. And then the more you build up on that concept of yours, that end, the more you are focused today. Because then once you have that end there, you come back until today. And then you have the path. Just you don't take it as a command at all, but suppose you decide to run the 42 kilometers of Standard Chart come last Sunday of October. What happens with that? If you are serious, you put that thing there, you have to walk back and you reach today, 25th of July. You have 25th of August, 25th of September, and say 25th of October, 3 months. You may even realize that it is not a deal. You cannot. In 3 months, you can't prepare yourself to run 42 kilometers, cross the finishing line, and not be damaging your health. You say, sorry, it won't be possible. Let me do this year, I do half, I do 21. Next year, 2021, I do 42. And then again, you build. But this is the paradigm of this thing. We, most often than not, we are scattered. We do all sorts of things during the day, and we don't do what is of essence. And in fact, in this chapter of Covey, he is quite tough. He begins with that the experience of you going for the funeral of someone, if you recall. And then you are going there, suppose it's in Mesh, I think it's called, no? Or Montezuma, or Lee, Parlor. Go to one of them. Then you've been there before, so you get in, there is that soft music. You see people speaking in low tone. There is some scent of flowers there. And then you walk to the casket. And then you look at the person who is there in that casket. And guess what? It is you. It is you. Now you go and sit, and then you are going to listen to 4 speeches. 4 people are going to talk about you. You're somebody who is a member of your family, somebody who is related with you in terms of work, somebody from your spiritual community, and somebody who is your friend. Now, what do you want them to say about you? This is the end game. This is the end in mind. You know, I've been in this country here, as I said, for 10 years, and I read the newspapers. And sometimes it appears that Honorable, I don't know who, dies. And then he's there, and everybody knows that things is chaos, that at work, the guy was not very honest. Then Madame is not even doing the speech because there is another woman there in the room. She says that this big son of her called Victor, 21 years of age, doing medicine in the University of Nairobi, is a son of this man who is here. In terms of spirituality, the guy has always dodging a bit, and you know, he gave some little contribution for building something there in the parish, but is not very, etc. You know, it is a disaster. It is a total disaster. Those 4 people, the wife, the boss, the colleague at the friend, the intimate friend, and the one in his spiritual community, they have nothing to say about that individual. Why? Because he didn't really try to begin with any mind in anything. He was just enjoying Netflix, enjoying beer, enjoying Premier League, enjoying, I don't know, FIFA 2020 in video game, enjoying whatever. You know, it was an entertainment-oriented life. Yeah, it's a wasted life. Now, his nice 4-wheel drive, or Defender, or Range Rover, his piece of land all over, his whatever, are those things that you should be very excited about. He's dead. What does he do with his Mercedes key? Nothing. Can put in his hand there if you want, but yeah. So Covey says that begin with the end in mind is a habit for leaders. Yeah, you know where you're going. That simile of the car, Christine was at the driving seat of the car, and she had all the controls on herself, and she has a direction. She knows exactly where she wants to go. And she has Google Map who tells her how to go the fastest route and avoid traffic. So, you know, it's an incredible habit, this number 2, and very few people use it in their lives.
Hi, Michelle, are you there?
Hi, Christine. Yes, I am.
Oh, welcome. I have just been going around inviting people to give us their impressions and of the book, and maybe make a comment or 2, and then, yeah, so welcome.
Okay, thank you. So I think one of the points I've picked up from the book as we started, it was on the habits of public victory. And I think on this point, Steve is like, we should focus on building relationships, reviewing, strengthening it. And I think at this age in time for us young adults, social capitalism is such an important aspect. Your net worth is compared to the networks that you have. So even as we go about, building meaningful relationships in this age where people are just like your friends because they want to get something from you, or even I think if I was to get mentors and all those things, it will be around what do I get from that. So I wanted to know, Prof, what's your perspective on trying to find meaningful relationships, building on that in a manner that it's not manipulative, but at the end of the day, you also don't lose your sense of self. You don't end up being just the whole manipulation bit of it, so that the relationships are strong and worthwhile in the long run. Yeah, kindly.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it's nice comment, and I see one point that you mentioned, and I fully agree with you, is the idea of what is your inverted commas net worth. When everything is said and done, have you been gathering straw or gold? Yeah, and I think if one has that in mind, he or she will see to it that they go around doing more things with the people. What Covey says in the second part of this book is that you should have the so-called the public victory. That the fact that Madame Maina has joined Bildad Nyongesa and Christine Garashi, and they are discussing some stuff on a Saturday morning is brilliant. It is beautiful, you see. Yeah, because you are building in something which is forever. Yeah, up to when am I going to exist personally? Forever. There is, once I was born, there is no retreat, no surrender, There is eternity for you and for me and for everybody around here. Now, which eternity? That is the issue that the guy says, beginning with the end in mind. And then what matters at the end of the game? What matters? It matters what you do for other people. Yeah, it matters if you help other people, if you support other people. Like some of us like giving contributions towards school fees for bright and needy students in Strathmore. We have something called FAO, Finance Aid Office, and Eric Saulo and Christine are both deeply involved in the pursuit of getting funds from individuals and corporations to help an individual, a young lady called Bernice Maina from Ruiru or Kikuyu, who is very brilliant, and she could be a first class, but dad is not there. Mom works in a very simple job that doesn't get enough to pay the fees of Strathmore. So you see, this is the stuff that makes what is your net worth, what is your social capital, because that thing will stay there at the end of the day when everything is said and done, when you walk into the Lee parlor. Yeah, and then one thing that is a feature of somebody who does this thing of living, think win-win, seek first to understand before being understood, try to synergize, is that you go around creating allegiance. Suppose I go and try to work with Eric Saulo, and then I say, I want things from him. So I just think about myself. I go and say, Eric, I know you are very good at IT. So come and help me to be good with my iPad. I just bought it. I don't know how to use. Well, it is not exactly a nice proposition because this guy has his commitments, he has his other things, etc. If he wants to give me 1 hour of his time in on a Saturday over my iPad, I have to see to it that I buy him lunch in Java, you see, and I give him a very nice dawa, you know, and we eat some nice salad and we talk, and I take him home or stuff like that, no? Because you have to be trying, what can I do for someone in a business, in a relationship? What can I do to make the life of this person before me a better one? Then you do it and you don't ask for anything. Now, guess what? That individual, because you looked for his or her good and you didn't send an invoice, that person is now committed to serve you in a way that you couldn't even imagine, you see? So this is the game. When you do something good and you don't send an invoice, in a way you are getting that individual to have some allegiance with you towards your good that you would not get in any other way, even if you have a lot of money or you have a lot of facility that you could give him or her. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for those insights. I think Eric had a comment to make before we move on.
Yes, my comment actually touches a bit on the second habit, what we were talking about, the end in mind, and also what Michelle brought up, you know, the thing of social capital, meaningful relationships. And this goes to the third habit, which is on putting first things first, right? We need to prioritize our day-to-day actions with the end in mind. But then our day is affected. First, we have limited time to do the ordinary tasks that we have. And then secondly, we have people around us, you know, our friends, our colleagues and family. Then poses a challenge. And Covey says the challenge is not to manage time, but to manage ourselves. So how do we manage ourselves in terms of getting our tasks done to achieve our end, our goal? But also, how do we manage ourselves in order to have this meaningful relationship? Always that, again, is another challenge that we need to master. And I think Covey then has that important time quadrant, you know, urgent and important, not urgent, but important, urgent, not important, not urgent, not important. And he highlights that he mentions we need to focus on the not urgent but important if we are going to manage ourselves. So we then also, from a point of view of our daily tasks, what are those that are not urgent but important that we have to do? And in terms of our relationships, which ones are those that are important for us, but they don't create a sense of urgency? And in that way, then we become effective because we know how to build our relationships. We are able to plan because we are not reacting to things, but we are being proactive. And the important thing that he mentions there, which I have been struggling to find out, to manage, is how to recognize new opportunities. As we manage ourselves, our time, we are trying to put things first. How do I recognize new opportunities? For example, just interesting trainings or interesting books to read during these days that we have been sheltering in place because of the pandemic. So I think looking at it, we are always handling urgent and important things. And then we get distracted by those that are not urgent and not important. How do we manage? How do we fight, eliminate wasting time? And then how do we try to recognize these new opportunities. I think that's something that in this, as we try to put into practice these habits, we should be looking out for, recognizing those new opportunities, managing ourselves and not managing time.
Thank you for that. Now, Prof, I would like us to talk about this habit of sharpening the saw. This is because of something that you said in your opening remarks, that sometimes, I don't know, maybe I will say I have read this fantastic book of 7 habits, and when someone asks me about what about it, I have no clue, I can't even summarize. And then also Michelle has said something about reading for the sake of reading, and Saulo also has said about something to do with lifelong learning. I have this impression that as Kenyans, all of a sudden the culture of reading has caught up with us. However, I think I get the impression that sometimes, like, I am competing to read a book every month. I'm competing to read a book. Therefore, in the end, maybe I'm not getting anything out of the book, but I'm ticking a list to say, yeah, that one I have read. Yeah, that one I have read. Looking at this point on sharpening the saw, how can we take advantage of the books that we are reading, or being intentional about choosing specific books? Because I think at some point there was this craze about reading specific books. Okay, 7 Habits was one of the book. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. There are such specific books that people were just running to read for the sake of reading because everyone else was reading. And in sharpening the saw, ideal is the idea of lifelong learning, and ideally looking for opportunities that can make you grow as a person in maybe your career, in your personal life, in your marriage, or whatever it is.
Yes. Anyway, it is an interesting habit. The seventh, the sharpen the saw. And if you recall at the beginning, of course, at the first page of the 7 Habits, there is a quotation by a guy called Bruce Barton. It says that sometimes when I consider what tremendous consequence comes from little things, I'm tempted to think there are no little things. You see, it is unfortunate that people do what I had mentioned at the beginning of when we began this discussion, that some people they just read, you know, they just read. So they don't internalize, they don't practice, they don't try to help other people to practice it because they are themselves enjoying it. So I think those 3 other steps are very important. And then if, because for instance, you get a baby which has diarrhea, you can give food to that little one and nothing will happen because there is no digestion. You see, whatever goes out, goes in, goes out, and there is no something that is remaining there as energy, or, you know. So the same thing happens with individuals. You said, right, the monk who sold his Ferrari, rich dad, poor dad, who moved my cheese, the 7 highly effective people, you know. But you see, these books are really, in a way, very unique. They bring a very interesting message. But if one just reads for the sake of, when people ask, you put up your hand, says, I read it, it is useless, honestly, it is useless. So what you have to think is, why am I doing that? Yeah? Like in a relationship, am I growing? Am I growing emotionally and socially? Am I able to serve more people? I know in Strathmore, you and Eric are very much involved with serving people because you, because of your connection with alumni, with your connection with the community outreach program, with Mateo, you get people going outside of themselves and doing things for the others. And guess what? They are so happy. They are excited. I have a mentee who began helping in the this orphanage here, just our neighbor across the road. And he did his 200 hours, Cueto, House of Peace. And then he continues to date. After so many years after graduating, he continues visiting them, helping them, trying to do things here and also in Ruiro. So the seventh habit, this sharpening the saw, it tries to help you to keep improving a lifelong learning on the social and the emotional dimension, where you have a security, you have peace, you are not scared that you are going to get COVID and will die, you are not panicking. So this is important. Empathy, that you are able to understand people. People like coming and telling you things for nothing. It's not that you give them money, that you are going to solve their problem, but they like talking to you because you give some insight, because you appreciate, because you are compassionate. You see, this is one of the aspects of the seventh habit, the sharpen the saw. Then there is the physical. You've seen, there is a video they made of myself running around and doing some few exercise there. That is one thing that I told Victor, and he captured there, is that, look, unless you do it on a systematic manner every day, you will not go far, So the physical aspect of ourselves is very important, is something that it goes in what Eric was mentioning, that it is important, but not urgent. I mean, if you don't jog today, what happens? Nothing. But if you don't jog tomorrow, also nothing. But if you don't jog ever, you may have problems with your heart, with your blood pressure, with your sugar, with your fitness, with the pain on your back, lower or up, and neck and stuff. So physically, you have to do exercise. You have to be careful about nutrition, what kind of stuff you put inside. There is this young lady who is working for us here in the medical center. She's called Mariani. I think Mariani Main, I think. No, Mariani, what's her name? Mariani, yeah. So she was saying that everything you eat either is medicine or is poison. Everything you eat. So you are either becoming healthy or you are poisoning yourself. So that is the stuff that you should do. And then, of course, it is related to exercises with the stress management, being able to being, mens sana, corpore sano. Then the issue of spiritual thing, that what are your values, what are your commitments, do you talk to God, you talk to your maker, you have a kind of stable relationship with him and stuff. So this is what is there as kind of the content for sharpening the saw. I was thinking that Christina, if you don't mind, in the chat, Bildad Nyongesa was mentioning a book he read called The Alchemist. It's written by a Brazilian guy, Paulo Coelho. I don't know if you've seen this book, but he sees some relationship between the stuff dealt with by Covey here and the kind of more poetic and emotional approach that Paulo Coelho has about a boy trying to have an end in mind and how he goes about reaching his target. So I don't know when I actually managed to answer you the question of the sharpen the saw, principles of balanced self-renewal. Yes.
Yeah, you have. And now, as you're talking about principles of renewal, you see at the beginning, you also, when you were talking, you introduced private victory. You said about looking into the mirror, and I think that's a very important place for you to begin, for you to be able to sharpen the saw. I would like you to expound a little bit more on this idea of looking into the mirror.
You see, there are two kinds of people in this planet. Perhaps I am going to be guilty of oversimplification, but there are these two people I think you know. There are people whenever something is happen which is good, he or she goes and says, it was me, fantastic, you know, I managed to do this, or I managed to do that, and etc. No? So, and then when things go wrong, that instead of looking at the mirror, now he runs to the window and looks for who is the guilty one, who is the one I could put some blame on this thing, because this thing is unbecoming, is going to tarnish my reputation, it is a disaster. So I don't need to solve the problem, I just need to find someone who can be the culprit, and then that's the thing. So this individual is definitely a confused one, someone who is dysfunctional, probably is not in the pursuit of goodness and truth, is just someone who is too much is over concerned about himself and his so-called reputation or stuff. So the idea is the other way, is the guy who does exactly the opposite. When things go bad, he or she goes to the mirror and look at that thing and says, guy, what did you do wrong? Where did you fail? And then this is a very, very sound and very healthy exercise. One can really, of course, I say put yourself in front of the mirror, but perhaps you go to a place which is very quiet and you put yourself before your maker and you begin thinking about it. Where did I go wrong? What can I now do to mend this situation and to transform this kind of a tragedy or this crisis into an opportunity? There are many people like that in this country now because of the COVID, and they struggle, he or she is having to keep the little company or the little business or whatever afloat. Yeah, and then when things go well, that the person succeeded, something that is worth celebration, now he runs to the window and looks for the people. Who helped me to get this thing? Aha, it was Christina, okay, it was Eric, okay, it was Francis was there. And then now, he now says, look, my team is amazing. You guys are fantastic. I want to appreciate, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then he throws a party, you know, in one of these nice restaurants around. So it is all begin within ourselves. If we are on the side of more like pride, building your image, etc., you will go mirror for when things are good and window when things are bad. But if you are someone who is trying to help people to be improved, to be better, and you are pursuing the common good rather than your private good, then you actually will be doing the other way around. You things bad, look at the mirror, things good, you look for people to celebrate and to congratulate and to really appreciate, not say, I recognize your contribution in this thing. Yeah.
Now, Prof, the other thing that I would like to maybe pick your brain about in this conversation is the idea that sometimes we might want to, I don't know, move from this. When you were talking about the private victory, at some point you mentioned that we have to move from a journey from dependent to independent. Okay. And then at the same time, when you were talking about public victory, I found like you said something that in quotes is sort of a contradiction of trying not to move away from people at the same time. So there is the independence that maybe you stop depending on your mother and on your father or on your siblings to take care of small things, but also there's also the other danger of being over independent, that you think other people do not matter. I would like you to sort of reconcile those 2 points, that because at the end of the day, while we strive to be independent, at the same time, we are always depending on people.
Yes. Okay, the first concept is obviously to think that you cannot do anything that is in terms of legacy will be left and make you somebody who is inspiring without others. You know, Christine, if you try to do this Zen meditation, yoga, self-control, breathing, that you can stay, there are people who can stay underwater for 5 minutes, you know, without breathing, but they have such a control over their body that they can reduce their heartbeat, they can reduce even their temperature, and they stay there underwater for 5 minutes and they don't die, you know. But there is one essential difference between somebody who goes and becomes a monk in one of those monasteries in Tibet and on Nepal, and tapping into ancient philosophy or technologies or things, experiments that can make you to have control over yourself. What are you doing? You are on your own. It is you 100%. So it doesn't work. In order for you to do something that will make you happy and honored and satisfied, ultimately, you have to do it with the other person, because when you are alone, you can't love. You can't love. If you are alone, there is love for yourself, which is, yes, there is some level of goodness in that thing, okay? You have to make sure you eat not to die, make sure you sleep not to, you know, burst, whatever, but you need someone else to love. And that is the thing. You need people. And this, it has to be written with words of fire in our mind and hearts, that I need people. I cannot be an island. No man is an island. We are a social being by nature. That is Aristotle and Plato and everybody, and Aquinas. Everybody knows that. So if you know that, then you will be a people's person. You go get close to people. You, in a meeting, you don't say, okay, guys, just open your notebooks and take note what I'm going to tell you because I already thought about it. That is ridiculous, you know. First, speak. The youngest one, then the other. I will be the last one to speak, if at all. If I don't need to speak, I don't say, guys, you actually, the way I see it, you capture everything. I'm so happy. Let's summarize this thing. You know, so we need people. The love of self and the pursuit of empowering self by self's sake is a very terrible journey. It's actually the journey of the devil, you know. Yeah. There is a book, The Covenanted Happiness, by Father Cormac book. In the version I have, is the one that is black and white, the cover there is page 84. You will see he says about the way of God and the way of the devil. The way of God is self-giving, and the way of the devil is selfishness, you know. He jokingly says that Satan he knows that he is in love with someone who is not very much worth loving. So yeah, this is what I want to say. You in a sense, if you are going the path of interdependence, you know you need people. It looks like a paradox, but you need people not to sort out your own personal problems, but you need people so that you can be the better because you are in touch with other people and with their problems. You know, somebody sometimes need problems in order to become normal. You know, if a person is totally selfish and is thinking about himself or herself 24/7, he or she will end up killing himself or herself, you see. But then if you have a problem, if you have somebody who needs you, even in Europe now, people are selfish. They leave their parents, they go and work elsewhere, and then if the parents need some special help because they are above 80, they put them in one of those houses for old people. They don't go visit them. It is over, you see. So selfishness is there, is the order of the day. Now, is this person going to be happy? No. Now, if he or she were to say, my mom is old, I have to take a part-time job and I have to be with her. And you stay there. So you are somehow curtailing your professional life. You are reducing your professional opportunities. You are making less money. But guess what? You are doing the right thing, because if you ask your maker, where do you want me to do? Kpmg or at home and doing part-time? He will tell you at home doing part-time because you have to take care of your mother, or your father, or whatever. You see, this is the need that we have of others, that when there is problem, we go there. And this happens a lot in Africa, because here you are because you belong. You know, if you people die in your clan and you don't go to bury, people get sick, you don't go to visit, you don't take sugar and oil and unga to your grandmother, you are outcast. You know, you are not a good person, and people even talk bad of you behind your back. So this is beautiful, because you actually are because you belong. Now, in more selfish societies, perhaps United States also, you are because you make yourself. I'm a self-made woman. How? I think somebody else made you. It's just that you are not acknowledging. You know, so this is the thing. And then there is one last bit which is important to acknowledge. We, before God, we are always a dependent person. We are always a toddler, a 2-year-old toddler. And we need him big time, all the time. So that is another paradox, that before everybody, you are a leader, you sort yourself out, you don't have personal problems, you help people, you are doing everything. They say, wow, she's amazing. But then when you go before your God, say, Lord, you know me. And these people know nothing about me. But you know, I can't do A, I can't do B. You know, I've been trying this and I've been a failure. I'm a disaster. You do help me. So this is sound, you know, it's very, very healthy to have that dependency towards God, 100%, as if you were a toddler, unable to do anything. But then before your people, you have to be those who know to work with them, appreciate, empower, excite, inspire, and stuff. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much for that great insight. As we wind up, I would like to invite Eric possibly to talk about habit number 6. I think we haven't talked too much about it. And Eric, after that, maybe you could give the closing remarks and invite Professor Da Silva to also give the closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina. Just following up on this, on the previous comments on independence, dependence, and interdependence, looking at habit number 6, which is on synergy, right? We find ourselves working with other people in our teams, right? So we somehow depend on them. We also want to be independent of them. We want to be interdependent with them. And then we remember that as an individual, we cannot achieve much, but as a team that is well functioning, we are stronger and we can achieve much. So of course, then from the book, Stephen Covey, you know, talks about valuing the differences that each and every person has, so that you know, I can depend on this person, or I can be independent of this person needs to work independently, this person needs to work with another person, so that living dependence and interdependence comes into play. Of course, we need to be able to respect other people, if we are working in a team, if we're going to create synergies in a team, we need to respect people. We need to trust them, that they will do what they are supposed to do to help us as a team achieve a goal. Sometimes the question comes to my mind, we could be having great synergy in smaller teams, but then as we continue to operate in larger teams, that level of synergy reduces. So for example, if I take my example, in the alumni office, we are 4 people, and somehow there we have some good synergies. We can trust each other, we know the differences amongst ourselves and capabilities. But if we now go into the divisional team, you have more people, then there you see the level of synergy maybe reducing, because, okay, the people they have not worked with, I cannot trust much. And if you think now going to the whole university with staff of close to 700 members of staff, you find your levels of synergy is going down. Prof, if you have a comment, would be how do we keep the level of synergies amongst the people we work with, from smaller teams as we go into bigger teams in a corporate way, so that then we become effective, not just in our smaller teams, but we also get to become effective organizational-wide. So that's those are my thoughts around how habit number 6 help us to be interdependent, independent, and become effective people. Prof, I don't know whether you have a comment to how do we build our synergies from smaller teams to organization-wide?
Okay. There is a guy in this compound of ours called Strathmore who is very good at this, and he is called Tom. Yeah, he is the one who has been training training bodies or groups of people on. He begins with the temperament, because people are different. You see, people have their own ways of appreciating what is good, what is bad, what is worth, what is not worth, and they are quite different. I don't know if you have read that book by David Kiersey called Please Understand Me Too. Huh? Yeah, that book talks about our temperament, and then that people are different. You have people who are good with people and people who are not good with people. So you have the introverts and you have the extrovert. You have the rationalist, you have the artisan, you have the guardian. For instance, myself, I'm a guardian. I see value in orderliness, in faithfulness, etc. But I'm not very innovative, you know. Vincent Ogutu is a rationalist, is an idealist, is so innovative and he keeps having brilliant and fantastic ideas with the thing. But when I look at him, I say, why is this guy wasting so much time talking, explaining something about New York to this person here? You know, now they have been talking for close to 10 minutes, could be doing some other thing, you know. But the beauty of it is that accepting people as they are and understanding that they have other sets of values and they have other, in fact, the Kiersey says that all of us have a drum beating inside of each one of us. And then we move in line with that internal drum. But my drum is different from your drum. So I see you dance in a funny way, which doesn't tally with my music. I may run the risk of missing the issue of synergy and think that you are a bit funny, you know? Yeah. So the importance of understanding that people are different and people appreciate different things, and what people consider success is different from different people. And this is what actually, at least in Strathmore, we are trying to do, like in the schools, in the research centers, and also in the management board, to get people to be trained on this matter, that I am a sanguine, I am a phlegmatic, I am, you know, something like that, that can, and therefore I appreciate this and this, but these other people do not. And this guy who is a choleric has just told me that I'm an idiot. But you know, he will forget in 2 minutes. But for me, for 3 years now, I'll be in trouble with him because he told me I was an idiot on 24th of July, 2016. Now it's 4 years from now. You know, 4 years ago. So if I come to know these things, if I understand these things, then I can work better. You see, but there are people out there who don't know even this thing of temperament. They don't know the difference between temperament, personality, and character, and they don't, when they have, because they are a rush, one of an introvert and rational, where he goes to a party and instead of interacting with the people, he sits there and begins looking at the bookshelf, you know, find a nice book there, begins reading. Then the wife comes and says, "Boss, what are you doing?" You know, yeah, so things are, people are different. We have to accept the difference, and people appreciate different things. We have to know what makes them happy so that we can be able to encourage them, to inspire them the way they want to be inspired, or they are normally inspired. Yeah, so otherwise you have a mismatch. You come with some things that you think is good. You tell this, the guy is just looking at you, say, wait. And then what's the problem? Is that you went from the principle that he is like you, and he is not. Yeah.